Carlos Nelson with the Kansas City Business Association, and we're delighted to have today Miss Ruth Ramsey. She's in the healthcare field, but before she was in the healthcare field, she had her own company and she was a graphic artist doing rather well, but then she switched gears and she has her own magazine now. Without further ado, uh, Miss Ruth Ramsey. How you doing today, Ruth?
Good afternoon, Carlos. How are you?
Doing just fine. Lord, let me wake up. I'm all smiles.
Said you could have another day, huh?
Another day on the planet, sister. So, as I said to you off camera before we had the interview, you know my like Jackie Gleason used to in Away We Go. I like how about going back to kindergarten and talk about who you are, where you went to school, and some of the mentors that help develop your character and your personality. And then we'll go into your professional career.
Okay. My name is Ruth Ramsey. I'm a native Kansas Citian. I grew up here, certainly in Kansas City. My roots are here, very deep. My parents on both sides were from Mississippi. So I come from a long history of family members from the South. And so they brought those values and that experience to Kansas City when they came to Kansas City many years ago. And as I look back, since you're having me look back, long way back, my father and grandmother raised my brother and I. It was during a time where I guess those were days where most African Americans really weren't getting the kind of opportunities that certainly the majority community was getting. But anyway, my dad worked very hard. He worked at the city market, and memories of him, uh, I recall him getting up at midnight to go to work, and he would work 12-hour shift. And he'd be home by noon the next day. So he worked at the city market, and he unloaded the trucks for the produce every day. And so that was the kind of worker he was. At the age of 14, my dad died. And so I was very close to my dad. My grandmother was helping him to raise my brother and I. And so having my father die at the age of 14 was pretty traumatic for me. And I often think about that in today's world. You hear of children who go through um, adverse experiences in their lives, and you find that today their parents are advised to get them mental health support. I don't remember anyone during my day getting grief support or the child being nurtured in different ways to help them overcome the loss of a family, a father or parent at that age. So I bring that with me. That followed me all throughout my life, but I survived. I finished high school. I attended Central High School, and from high school I went to Northwest University or college at the time. And I guess thoughts of what I wanted to be and do centered around social work. I've always been one of those people who wanted to make a difference, help people through various, I guess, challenges in their life. So I've kind of been that kind of person. As I grew older and realized that some of the things that I wanted to do centered around communications and art. I've always said to myself, if I could, I'd have music, art, and writing would be the center of my universe. And growing up, I was actually a good writer. And here's a little story. When I was in high school, uh, I wrote a paper. The English teacher would always have you write something. So on this particular occasion, I think it was ninth grade, one of my teachers said, "Hey, Ruth has written a paper and I want her to come and read it." to the class. So I was selected because evidently whatever that composition that I had written was such that he thought it was been tremendously written very well. So I read it to the class and he applauded and he told the class how good it was. And so years later, as I thought back about that experience, that teacher, who was a white male teacher, didn't pull me aside and said, Ruth, this is something you could really do something with in your future. Uh, and I think about how many children in school are never, how many teachers never help a child to identify a strength that they have. And so that always haunted me. Why didn't that teacher tell me I could be a writer or that this was a talent that I had? And so what I'm trying to lead to is that that was always in me. I was writing all kinds of things, poems, and at church, people would have me write things. But no one ever told me that that was a strength or that was a talent that I had. So as I got older, I found myself searching for where I really wanted to be. I remember contacting Hallmark Cards. I wanted to work at Hallmark Cards because that's a place where I could write, perhaps, if they would allow me to have a position like that. I tried 3 times to get Hallmark to hire me, but they didn't. And so it didn't dawn on me again that, hey, this is really who you are. You are a writer and you are a communicator and you have creative talent. And I always liked art and graphics. So at one point, I was introduced to a gentleman or a company that was in the graphic design field. And I fell in love with it. And I thought, wow, this is really great. So they hired me as a rep for the firm. And I got all the knowledge and understanding about how the graphic design field worked, what was good talent, how to identify it, how to manage it with clients and things like that. And so that was kind of my introduction into the graphic design field. My business, Ramsey Associates Design, is primarily a graphic design company, marketing communications firm. And we assist clients with their visual communications, visual and marketing communications. And I've been doing that since 1990. So it's not that I took a turn and went differently when it came to the magazine. I've always have been a graphic design company, marketing, and I still maintain that. But because of that expertise that I had in the field of graphics and understanding how that works and what is quality graphic design, I was able to launch a publication. And so that's kind of where a quick and dirty, and overview of how I started that, how I became interested in graphics, and then it led into the publication itself.
That Hallmark deal, what years was that?
That would have been in the 70s.
All right, because I think I told you I used to do work for Crown Center Redevelopment. I did the ice skating ring and other things. And at that time, they were having problems with a lot of racism over at Hallmark. And then they brought Irv Hockaday in there because my friend Councilman Charles Hasley used to work over there at Hallmark. And they brought, I forgot who it was. He was over the railroad to try to make some changes down there. But your graphics design company, basically you just did one up and moving forward with your magazine and taking that experience and taking that to another level.
Absolutely. I think what brought me to that, to adding that to my services or
Portfolio.
portfolio, better word. It came to me one day to do a health magazine. And I thought, where is that coming from in my thinking? But unbeknownst to me, because I was providing graphic services to a number of healthcare organizations and companies throughout the city, I realized that there was a void, especially when it comes to African Americans or minority populations. We generally are the sickest, the most ill, to have the most chronic conditions disproportionately to other populations. And so I thought, again, because I'm in the field of creative publications and graphics and visual communications, I thought maybe I'll do a magazine. And so I knew I had to start somewhere. So I started keeping notes. I looked around our community, our city, to see what was available, who's doing something with that, who is actually inclusive of minority populations as it relates to messaging to them about their health. And there was no medical practice, there was no hospital, there was no organization that was publishing any information relevant to how we can maintain better health, how we can manage chronic conditions, and just general knowledge about ourselves and our health, and resources, where to go, who to contact, who are providing quality services. Where are we? It's interesting because there still are today, I think, some organizations or agencies, if you will, that don't really want African Americans as their target market, or they don't consider them to be their market. If you're serving the majority market, they figure the African American community, they'll just come along because we don't really have to market to them. We don't have to advertise in media that has that audience, at least to a large degree. But I found, as I looked around the community, there was nothing. And I felt, they always say that if you're going to start a business, if you're going to create a product, find out where there's a problem and see if you can have a solution to that problem.
Can I cut you off for a minute?
Sure.
All right. So how long did it take you to really observe that? Because we're in similar businesses, but a little twist, and there was no one covering our community digitally in sports or anything when I started my business. And you try to fill that need, but how receptive the your community is on you filling that need, then what you touched on, I found a lot of organizations, mainstream, they don't want to go out their way to market to people of color. Like, we don't spend money. And I think before we got on the air, I asked you, did you mind going in that direction? How hard has it been, not only as a woman of color, but a woman in the system, and specifically here in Kansas City, because it might be different in another city with more opportunity, maybe a different frame of mind from the leadership. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay, how difficult it has been and how receptive or not the
Yes.
businesses that I actually needed, if you want to say needed them, to have a presence in our publication. First and foremost, I felt I had an audience, number one, that needed them. And so you have an advertiser who generally says, this is the direction we're going to go. These are the people we want. And we don't want these people, we want these people. So I think, I don't want to call it a strike against me and my publication, but I think some folks in the majority community perhaps felt, well, and it wasn't that I was only trying to address the needs of communities, Black and Brown communities, but I wanted to make sure I did not exclude Black and Brown communities because the media that was on the shelf was generally pretty majority community focused. You didn't see many of our faces or our concerns or problems, if you will, as it relates to health in their media. Maybe during a special time of the year or month, Black History Month, or, one
I
of
gave
those.
it the office.
Say that again.
I gave at the office. That's what I go back like 40 years. You're trying to get some traction. You contact these people. They be like, maybe next time.
Right.
I gave to Salvation Army or gave, but how did that impact people of color? Who did you give any dollars to people of color that spend billions of dollars every year, have all of these, not just problems, acute problems, from health to housing to business, just in general?
Right. I think a lot of times, and for many years, and I don't think it has ended with Black and Brown communities, many, and I'm speaking from the standpoint of media and getting support for that media. I think, just like you said, they don't think we have money, but my gosh, African Americans have come a long way from being just poverty stricken. We have very professional Black and Brown families and individuals, people in the professional world, and they have insurance and they have the means to make their choices of who they want to serve their healthcare needs. And so when I would put a package together, certainly I would show that we're reaching that segment of the community, but that we, yes, also reach the underserved part of the community. So I was wanting to appeal as well to their community responsibility conscious.
Oh, where's that at? Excuse me. Where you seen that in the dictionary somewhere?
I went to their website, and on each of those, and I'll just say in general, let's say hospitals in general. If you go to any hospital website, if you look far enough, and you don't have to look too far, and it's usually at the very bottom, it'll say community responsibility. And so they know they have to have a certain amount or percentage that they have to invest, perhaps, in healthcare, maybe it's under education. I think a lot of them get away with saying, well, we do classes on diabetes, or we give money to health fairs, we send nurses to health fairs, so we're doing our community responsibility. But I'm saying to them, we are a media, we are a mass distribution. We are reaching the masses. We're reaching diverse.
Can I cut you off again?
Socially, economically, intergenerational families.
Can I cut you off again?
Go ahead.
The spill that they give you, that they got to cover everybody, treat everybody equal. That's just basic premise. But when all the Black people were on drugs that they put in our community, you was going to jail. That wasn't a health problem. And they were not trying to target the community that were using them drugs. But as soon as the majority community got on them drugs, now we need to put resources with anybody that is trying to solve that problem. And so it's a dichotomy here. But this is just Mr. Nelson speaking. It's all about the constructs that we live in and who form them. And it's not like throwing anybody under the bus, because if you can't speak about these issues that are affecting your economics, then it can never be solved. And it's not a white-Black issue. To me, it's about if you want to break it all the way down to a needs issue. And it just so happens more people of color in need than the majority community. And so why wouldn't you focus on that?
Right. Why would your quality services be available to the masses, to diverse communities, diverse families, as it relates to economically diverse, racial, ethnically, and socio-economically diverse people? So when you look at the social determinants of health, our health is uh, impacted by our education. You look at the education system, we target and engage the educational academic sector in the work that we do with our publication. And by the way, the publication is free, so we have to have a means and a ways by which to support it, to get it into the hands of those who need it.
Can you give them some information on, because we're getting ready to close this out, on how to contact you, how to support you, and in supporting you, are there any political levers that you feel that they might need to contact their representatives to have them put your company, not specifically your company, what your company actually does for our community? And it doesn't happen because money grow on trees and they let you do your publications. You go to the printer and he says, "Oh, nice lady," and then you get the publications. And so, uh, in closing, what would you have to say to that and to your audience, and give them the information how they can contact you and receive a copy of your publications?
Well, let me by all means tell you the name of the magazine. I think when we jumped off into the conversation, I didn't clarify. Uh, yes, my company primarily is Ramsey and Associates Design. Our publication is Our Health Matters. That's OUR, Our Health Matters. The website is kcourhealthmatters.com. We can be reached at 816-361-6400. And we have opportunities for just about any type of advertiser, sponsor type of organization, business that is out there that wants to reach people with their message, their products, their quality services. If it is relevant to health, that's a plus. But yet, that's not the only type of advertiser we want or need, because people buy goods and services. There are families who buy insurance, they buy cars, they buy homes, they buy household furnishings. So there is not any type of advertiser or supporter of the work that we do to deliver this free magazine into the hands of families that we could not engage with or wouldn't want to have as a partner with Our Health Matters. And so I'd like to appeal to those people out there. By the way, we're 19 years old. Our Health Matters this year is 19. It's been a journey, and we have been supported by so many great people who understood and knew exactly what the purpose was and what it is. And they want to see it go further, and they don't want to see it die on the vine. So we need good people. We need people who believe in us, who believe in the people we're serving and want to help them.
Well, I think that's fitting closing, but I'm adding my little 2 cents to it. I'm telling all our Black officials, whether you state, city, uh, school superintendent, or the sheriff, uh, what Ms. Ramsey's talking about, it doesn't have to be about health. She has an audience that uh, is looking into their health, and you can advertise on her magazine and possibly pick up some people that would like to participate in buying your product or knowing more about your product. That's how the capitalist system goes. And as I say, we spend money. We spend a lot of money as a people, and you can't have good services like Miss Ramsey's services that she's not just given to the people of color community, to the overall Kansas City community. So with that, I will close out what we always close out with. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Good day.
This is brought to you by Kansas City Business Association, working to improve our community.